Hi, I'm Janelle Hodge, and I'm an associate professor and a laboratory director in cytogenetics and molecular genetics at Indiana University. I'm presenting today on behalf of the CCGA workgroup as well as the Genomic Resources Development Committee. I'm sharing with you today about the Compendium of Cancer Genome Aberrations and how it's becoming a global hub for clinical interpretation. I have no conflicts of interest. What is the CCGA? It is a program of the Cancer Genomics Consortium. The idea is to create a catalog of genetic and genomic abnormalities, particularly copy number and structural, that occur in hematologic cancers and in solid tumors. This is structured based on the WHO classification, as that's how we think of these entities clinically. It is a wiki-style interface, so our genomics community is expertly crowdsourcing this information, and it's being done in real time in terms of editing and content sharing, which aligns with how quickly genetic data is being produced in our field. Elephants are supposed to remember forever, so I put that graphic here to remind you that to find this site, please just type in ccga.io into your browser, and it will take you directly to our homepage. In terms of organizing the information based on the WHO classification, it's book by book, and every entity within those books is detailed and has its own page. We also create other pages for genomic aberrations that we think are clinically important but are not currently in the WHO. We have multiple methods of navigation and also author resources. You can search any term in a Google-based general search box. You can click on the book image here to get to a listing of the entities that is the WHO classification tree, just like I showed you on the last slide. We have specific content links. You can search, for example, AML by going to diseases A. You can look for the translocation 922 by going to structural abnormalities 9 or 22. You could find the ABL gene by going here to cancer genes A. We have links to data visualizations. And we also have the recurrent loci tables from the CGC workgroup manuscripts over the last few years that can be directly found on the homepage here, or it was also linked within related disease entity pages on the site. For author resources, we have an author instructions page. We have a video tutorial. We now have an automated volunteer form that you can link to right off of the homepage, and we have a frequently asked questions page. This is an example of a table from a CGC publication. This is for AML. And what you can appreciate here is we do try to link as much as possible within the site. So we do have links here to gene-specific pages as well as to the references. Here are examples of data visualizations. This is a circles plot. You can see here are the chromosomes in a ring. And it's just a three-dimensional display of the chromosomal relationships. And it also has links. So for example, here is displaying the inversion 3 that occurs in AML. And if you click on that, you can go to the inversion 3 page. You also have copy number data displayed, and the thicker the bars, the more frequent. So here's an example of trisomy 8, monosomy 7, etc. There's some gene links as well. We can also have plotlies, and this displays aggregated copy number aberration data. So here are gains and losses. Similarly, trisomy 8 and monosomy 7, and this is data actually from the CCGA on AML. Related to data visualizations, we are currently collaborating with ProGenetics Oncogenomic Resource. This contains over 113,000 genome profiles based on sequencing and CMA data, which has been mapped to specific diagnoses using hierarchical classification systems, and it represents hundreds of different cancer types. They've also curated some data from publications. So you can find data based on these specific cancer entities and download it, and it's freely available with attribution. So Scott Newman from CCGA is working with Michael Baudas from Zurich to automate creating visualizations using the ProGenetics data that can then be imported and displayed within CCGA. As the CCGA grows, we're not only focused on content creation, but also further defining programmatic aspects. So we had to answer the question, what are we aiming to do? Our mission at the CCGA is to have a global collaborative effort to describe gene and chromosomal level abnormalities in cancer in a clinical context. So what do we aspire to do once we've achieved this mission? Our vision is to be the global hub for clinical cancer genomic aberrations. The idea is that the CCGA will act as a centralized resource of genetic correlates for pathologic entities that is updated in real time by the genetics community for use in clinical cancer case interpretation and as an educational resource. We have also defined our founding principles. What do we stand for? What are our values? Importantly, we support democratization of genomic knowledge. The CCGA is currently and will remain an open access resource. It will be free and it will be public. We actively promote inclusivity and diversity of our contributors. We're looking for various backgrounds, institutions, nationalities, and experience levels in the field of people to contribute who have applicable knowledge and/or expertise. Community collaborations. We try to link within the CCGA site outward to any useful external resources, and we also are trying to form and are forming strategic partnerships with other organizations and project leaders of those who have similar goals and principles. Finally, learning and teaching. The CCGA is an educational resource and can be used freely for educational purposes, and we also are highly encouraging of trainees to get involved in contributing with the support of mentors. In terms of the structure of support for the CCGA, we have the Cancer Genomic Consortium Board, and they approve the mandates of the Genomic Resources Development Committee. Here are the individuals on that committee. And the GRDC discusses priorities, direction, progress, budget, and is acting as a steering group for the CCGA effort. We have an editor-in-chief, and then we have associate editors. And most of these individuals are involved in specific disease groups that they're overseeing, and then we also have a gene-specific pages editor. And they interact with the authors for both onboarding them into the process and then editing the content. We have IT assistants. In December 2020, we hired a new IT contractor with someone who's very experienced, and he actually worked to rebuild our site from the ground up. We created a new instance and everything was up to date in terms of the software and plugins. The site is faster. You can now print pages in a readable format. You can look at them on mobile devices. We had some random technical issues that have been resolved. We've added pop-up alert for being, if you're going to be logged out for timing, it'll warn you. And we're making a lot more rapid progress on site improvement initiatives with his help. We separately have a CCGA work group, which includes the leadership as well as others that are contributing to the effort, for example, in the data visualizations. We have a communication liaison. So overall, the GRDC meets once a month. We have a quarterly associate editor meeting. The CCGA work group also meets once a month. And this is a really, I like this picture, a really fun group to work with. We have a Twitter account thanks to our communication liaison, Marilena. Very exciting. You can find it at CCGA Wiki, and we already have 375 followers. So in terms of adding content to the site and how that works, we have preloaded templates. There are 3 kinds. The first is a disease group overview. You can think of this as the landing page for a disease. So for example, AML would be the AML and related precursor neoplasms. This will have some information about AML, but really it's about linking to all the site content on AML from there. Then we have the disease entity or genetic alteration pages. Here, for example, the AML within version 16. That's a very deep dive into specific entities with a lot of different genetic information as well as other information about that entity. And finally, we have gene-specific pages. So for example, MYH11 has a page, and that has some information about the gene, but it also has links to all the diseases within the site that involve that gene, as well as a lot of external sites that have helpful information. It's pretty easy to author content now. So we preload those templates into the site, and what you'll see is anywhere you need to put text, it'll read put text here. We have examples and tables. So example CD1, that's how you would list out the different immunophenotype markers. It functions like Microsoft Word. So if you wanted to bold some text, you would just highlight whatever text you wanted to bold and then click bold. To add citations, you would click a button called Cite right wherever you wanted to insert that citation. It pops up a box. You make sure you're on automatic. You put in your PMID, you generate, and you select that reference and it'll pop in. It'll auto-generate a list of the references at the bottom. You don't need to format anything. Most of the authors are currently functioning right now by having a separate Word document where they're filling in this content and then just listing PMIDs. And once they feel happy with all of the content, they just copy paste it into the templates on the site and insert the references using the PMIDs in this cite function. So what are the benefits to participating? It's actually a really good educational opportunity. Even those who've been in the field for a while tend to learn something when they're creating a page. You can expand your connections within our community. We've actually had almost 100 colleagues already engaged in authoring content. You can get academic credit. You can list this on your CV. And an example of how to do this is on the authorship instructions page. And importantly, you create content not just for yourself, but for others that can be used in the future to interpret cases. So what projects are happening now and future directions for the CCGA? We are obviously creating content for additional disease entities, and we will soon be looking at additional WHO books. In terms of the current book, we are still looking for volunteers within some of the disease entities of B and T cell lymphoma, other mature B cell neoplasms, mature T and NK cell neoplasms, and some more rare entities. So if you're interested in these, please contact us. We are looking at the page templates that I was mentioning to you and just seeing, are there any areas that we can further clarify or standardize to make it even more straightforward? We're almost complete with the CCGA logo creation. We are, as I had mentioned, evolving our data visualization generation software through our ProGenetics collaboration. We are also trying to further automate and standardize our associate editor processes in terms of onboarding of authors as well as editing pages. Finally, we are excitingly exploring a collaboration with the WHO, IARC, and IC3R. IARC is the International Agency for Research in Cancer. They oversee the editing and publishing of the WHO classification of tumor books. We originally reached out to them to confirm that they were okay with us using their classification system on which to base the structure of the CCGA content. They were fine with that with attribution. What was exciting is that the IARC leadership was interested in our CCGA effort. One potential mechanism of collaboration is through the IARC-initiated effort of IC3R. That is the International Collaboration for Cancer Classification and Research, and they aim to provide a forum to coordinate international evidence generation, synthesis, and evaluation, as well as to set universal standards and best practice recommendations for use within the WHO classification books and cancer research. Here's a visualization of the relationship. On the left here is the WHO classification of tumor structure. This is the editorial board and the experts that work together to produce the books. One of the goals of the IC3R is to evaluate the books for knowledge gaps and then support the structure and provide evidence-based scientific production of information that can then feed back to the books and support filling of those gaps. The IC3R has other goals too. And why they're interested in the CCGA specifically is because we have real-time updating of genetic correlates to pathologic entities that involves evidence synthesis, and then it's a publicly available resource because they're looking for ways to disseminate knowledge globally. In conclusion, the CCGA is a resource for our community, by our community. We'll need continued engagement of everyone for the CCGA to remain successful. Clearly, we've had significant progress in developing the infrastructure, and we have exciting international collaborations in development. So my thanks to the GRDC members, communication liaison, associate editors, and other CCGA workgroup members. Thank you to the content providers. I hope I got everyone on this list. A special thank you to the trainees who have become involved with our effort. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and if you're interested in contributing, the best way to do so is to go to the website ccga.io and complete the volunteer form. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly or use the CCGA email. To finish this talk, I'm happy to share with you how others feel about their CCG-related experience, and I want to particularly thank Naroshi and Marilena for helping collect and produce the following video content. Thank you.
The CCGA has allowed me to connect with both junior and more experienced colleagues to help build a wiki-style contribution to the cancer genomics community based on WHO classification.
One of the CCGA features that I find really convenient are the aggregation of all these different recurrent loci tables. These are taken from different CGC publications, and these are great literature reviews from experts in the field, and having them all in one place and easily accessible is really convenient.
Now more than ever, our knowledge of cancer genetics is expanding at an impressive rate, and we need resources such as CCGA to compile and coherently present new information. I have greatly valued my experience as a CCGA author.
I got in touch with Dr. Janelle Hodge. She's very approachable. The mentors are very helpful in providing me with the feedback. Best part is that you get to cite this on your CV. So I would like to encourage all interested trainees to come join us.
I enjoy volunteering my time to the CCGA as it is a chance to participate in making a useful tool for other cancer geneticists and learning so much at the same time.
The Compendium of Cancer Genome Aberrations is increasingly a resource that I use on a daily basis. This information provides an ability to rapidly understand the genomics of diseases, and increasingly I've used this tool to reconcile findings of complex cases. It's also been an exceptional teaching resource that we use locally here.
I really benefited from my experiences as a CCGA author and contributor. Not only did I learn a lot about the different disease entities, but I also expanded my network and made valuable connections with other members of the CGC community.
I highly encourage all of you to join our community, work together, and contribute the best we can to cancer genomics.